sometimes in our industry, it's not easy. And sometimes people feel disappointed or frustrated about challenges. And I'm sure you've gone through plenty of those in the last 47 years. And some people may feel, well, I'm just not helping enough people, or people aren't taking me seriously, or seeing the value of what we have. So that's the first question. What are your thoughts on that, Ray?
Well, first of all, I'd say probably pretty much everybody goes through that for a length of time. Myself, I struggled for a couple of decades before I finally found myself at the right place, the right time, with the right people, the right product. And, I was ready, and I really needed something, because at that point in 1994, I was basically homeless, living in someone's unfinished basement. I had no income. My car was getting repossessed. And, but I got a call from somebody, and at first I said, no, I'm not interested. But then eventually he got through to me, and I said, okay, maybe this is the one that's going to make up for all the others that haven't worked, because I hadn't had any real success, a little bit here and there, but you have to have all the right pieces, together at the same time. And so that worked really well. By the end of that year, I was making over $20,000 a month, and developed a group of almost 1 million people. Over 14 years, made about $10 million with the company. And I grew a lot, and it was a great ride. But the reality is, most people really struggle, some people their whole life. And even when you love the product and you want to help people, sometimes there's either things missing, or just it's not clicking. So I'd like to share some ideas with you, and to sort of illustrate that, I got this. It's $1 million bill. So add it upside down. Give me some $1 million ideas. The product can help you feel like $1 million, but it'd be nice if we could actually help enough people where we could make $1 million, right? So one of the things that I think interferes with us getting to first base, and there's multiple stages to the conversation. First, you got to get their attention and their interest, and keep it long enough for them to see the big picture. And many times people don't take you seriously. You don't have the credibility. So one of the things I created not too long ago, less than a month ago, I realized a lot of people are making the mistake, and sometimes I was too, of leading too much with the details about the product or the science, and we can lose people. I mean, to us, it makes sense. Well, people want to know how it works and all that. And so I came up with a story. It's really an analogy that as soon as I started using this, people would instantly get the value of this. And, so it can make up for, maybe lack of credibility or lack of confidence, but everybody likes a good story. So here's what I do. Here's what I say. And it's worked really well for me. And people I've shared this with that are doing it, they're getting much faster, easier results, a lot less resistance. Because people like stories. People will sit for 2 hours and watch a movie. That's just a story, right? So people love stories. So ideally, you always want to start with this story, either your personal story, like say, hey, before I tell you about this, let me tell you what happened to me. Some kind of story. But before I use the word stem cells, I want them to understand the concept before I get into any details. So want to hear the story? Okay, so here's what I say. I say, well, first I briefly introduce it by saying something like, as you know, John, most people are struggling with at least one health challenge. I mean, 80% of the people are diabetic, half the people get cancer, people don't have enough energy, they can't sleep well. People have all sorts of problems. People hate problems, and what we do, we help people solve problems. And we have a unique solution. But to explain how this solution works, I'm going to give you just a quick analogy so it'll be really crystal clear, rather than getting into all the science and all that. So let's say, John, that you somehow you acquired or you own this large apartment complex, hundreds of units. And so you're renting out these units and it's bringing a lot of money. And of course, you got repairs that happen all the time, or they need to be taken care of all the time. And so you had to hire 10 maintenance guys, and they're full-time, 10 repair guys, always fixing things, whether it's the toilet or a leak or a broken window or whatever. And it works really well until one day, some of these guys stop showing up for whatever reason. And you can't get them to come back. And then over time, fewer and fewer are showing up. And eventually you're down to one guy. So you're down 90%. You need all 10. So what's going to happen? Well, the repairs are going to start piling up. And eventually you can't rent out most of the units. You won't make enough money. You're going to go out of business, right? Just because the repair jobs weren't being taken care of. Now, the reason I share that with you is because that's exactly what happens in our body every day. Our body has thousands of repair jobs that need to be done every single day. And as you can imagine, if those aren't taken care of, things start falling apart. And eventually, it doesn't end well. And that's why most people are suffering with one or more issues. So the way the body repairs itself, I call them the super cells of the body. These super cells are like the repairmen. They're also called, the scientific word is stem cells. These are your own stem cells that you already have. You don't need to get more stem cells. But the problem is, as we get older, they get locked into or stuck in your bone marrow. So like a lockdown. And eventually by around 60, 65, 90% of them are stuck in this lockdown. They can't get out and go to work. So your body's desperately trying to keep up with all these repair jobs, thousands of them every day, with only 10%, which is impossible. So it's pretty predictable what's going to happen. Things are going to start falling apart, and it doesn't end well. And so the solution is using a combination of plant extracts that our scientists have discovered. All you do is you take a couple capsules, 1 or 2 capsules, a couple times a day, and within a few minutes, millions of these stem cells are suddenly released from your bone marrow where they're being stored. So they can go out there and start catching up with all these repair jobs that the body's got so far behind on. And in many cases, people start feeling better and improvement within 24 hours, sometimes even faster. But 100% of the people they get benefits and results, even if you may not feel it for a few days or even a few weeks. But just like we all need food and oxygen, we all need active stem cells. I mean, how would it work for you if you were trying to survive on only 10% of the food that you need, or 10% of the oxygen? Not so well. Same thing with stem cells. You've got to reactivate them, get them out of storage so the body can keep up all the repairs. And so the bottom line, what this does, it optimizes your self-healing. That's all it does. It doesn't cure anything, doesn't prevent anything. It just empowers your body. It optimizes your self-healing. So that's the analogy I always lead with, because once they hear that, now it's crystal clear what we're talking about, what the problem is and the solution. And so using that is one thing that would really help.
Wow, Ray, what a story. And I love it. When you said lockdown, we can all relate to that. When we're locked down, we can't do anything. Wow, that is phenomenal. Now,